What's up, hotheads and political junkies? You're watching Cannabis Culture News Live. I'm Jeremiah Vandermeer here with BC NDP candidate Dana Larsen, leadership candidate Dana Larsen.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Awesome to have you, Dana, again. If you guys have been watching CC over the past few days, you may have noticed some live broadcasts and a lot of stuff going on with Dana. He's got his campaign for the leadership of the BC NDP, and there's been a couple fundraisers. We're going to talk to Dana about what's been happening with his campaign today. Dana also has just released a press release and is pushing forward with his campaign to, and actually, Dana, we'll talk about this as well in the second part. I want to go through the stuff about the fundraisers first, but about the, in British Columbia, in Canada, the federal government is responsible for our medical marijuana program. And so Dana has proposed that the provincial government will assume regulatory control over medical marijuana from within the province. And he'd like to see that if he's elected the premier of the province. And we'll also talk about Dana's plans to, if he is elected, to legalize marijuana for everybody by making it lowest police priority and cutting funding to the cops for that particular purpose. But we're not going to do any other news segments and stuff today. I'm going to keep Dana for the first half an hour. He's going to go, and then we're going to, hopefully, if this clip is, everything works out, we're going to play Tommy Chong and Shelby Chong's intimate evening with Chong Chong at the Dana Larsen fundraiser at the Rio Theatre the other night. So we're going to play the whole thing in its entirety. There will be a better digital version of it online later on YouTube when we get all that stuff dealt with and it's edited by Marijuana Man. But for now, if you guys want to tune in, you'll see it for the last half of the show if we can get it worked out properly. Anyways, Dana, I wanted to start with the Chong Chong intimate evening here. Here's the poster from it. This was the Rio Theatre fundraiser that was the other Monday night, this Monday night.
Yes.
And then the night after that, Tommy actually came down here to CCHQ where we're filming and performed live. He played the guitar, sat with Dana and did questions. Dana had a 9-hour or 8.5 hour or something broadcast that we did here, a fundraiser broadcast. So I'll ask Dana about that as well. But so first of all, the Rio Theatre fundraiser, how'd you think it went? You have a good time?
Well, Tommy Chong is one of many Canadians and British Columbians that have joined the BC NDP to support my campaign, and he's probably the most high-profile one that's come on board. And he spent 9 months in prison himself for the crime of selling glass water pipes over the internet. And if you watch the movie aka Tommy Chong, or you're familiar with his story, you know that they really entrapped him or entrapped his son, and Tommy took a plea to help keep his son and his wife out of jail.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And so Tommy's a Canadian. He's a Vancouverite, born in Alberta, and he's lived here a lot of his life. He goes back and forth between LA and Vancouver. And when he heard what I was doing, I approached him, and he decided to join the NDP and get involved. And as part of his efforts, he's helped me do a couple of fundraisers. And so we had this great event at the Rio Theatre last Monday, and we had a couple hundred people there, and we showed the film, aka Tommy Chong, and then Tommy and his wife Shelby came out and did a question and answer period with the audience, and sort of talked about their experiences and his different ideas, and some of it was funny, and some of it was personal, and it was a nice time. And I came up at the end and talked a little bit myself, and had some fun interaction with Tommy and Shelby on stage there, and then afterwards, I think it took Tommy about a half an hour just to get out of the theatre after that, because people were happy
mobbed by
getting
people.
their pictures with him and talking to him and telling him their stories and all that kind of stuff. And Cheech and Chong is one of the world's most famous celebrity duos, really. And I think Tommy Chong is one of the most famous Canadians, and he's certainly a funny guy, but he's also a very intelligent and a passionate man as well.
Right.
And he's one of many people, many Canadians, and many people around the world have gone to prison for this. And Tommy's also been standing up for Mark Emery a lot too, wearing that Mark Emery Free Mark T-shirt.
He wears it everywhere,
media.
all the time.
Tommy's really become a media pundit. He's been on Fox News, he's been on CNN and many other shows, and he always wears that shirt and promotes the Free Mark cause too. So
it's not just the celebrity thing, and I was going to ask you this. You kind of answered the question, but I was going to ask you why you wanted to have Tommy other than just the celebrity endorsement. But of course, there's these issues that are attached to these things, and Tommy's a great example of. The same kind of thing that happened to Mark. They go after the big guys to try and make an example.
Yeah, they definitely were making an example of Tommy and of Mark, and they're both really being punished more for what they said and what they represent than for really what they did.
Yeah.
A lot of people got swept up in that bong raid. Tommy's the only one without priors who got jail time and got the longest sentence by far. And they brought up his films and his movies and his career.
Very political, just like with
very
Mark.
political. Yeah, exactly. Where they thought, Canada and U.S. were countries that you were allowed to criticize your governments and have political opinions, but that's not always the case anymore these days.
Careful.
And so, as both as an entertainer and as somebody who's experienced this this war on cannabis and felt the brutality of it, Tommy's a perfect person to support my campaign, and I'm honored to have him on board and helping out. And just get some attention, and let us talk about these issues a little more and get some of these important things discussed in the media.
Cool, that's awesome. And so I know that there was the night after that, of course, here we had our money bomb, which was really cool. How'd you like doing the live show for 9 hours?
It was fun. I was pretty hoarse by the end of that. We had an 8-hour broadcast from 3 till 11 p.m. our time, and for the first 4 or 5 hours, it was mostly just me talking, and we're going to be putting a lot of clips up online of the highlights of that evening and interviewing people and talking to medical marijuana users and activists and people who have gone to prison in their effort to end this war on cannabis. And then Tommy and Shelby came by near the end, and then we had Tommy do a 3-song set because where we are here in the sort of Pot TV studio, and just across the hallway there is the Cannabis Culture Vapor Lounge, and it's an amazing space. And so Tommy did like 3 songs. It was nice, and then we just let the camera kind of follow most of the entertainment for the rest of the evening. We generated over $2,000. It was a good fundraiser. You can still donate now. I mean, if you're watching this and you support what I'm saying and what I'm doing, anybody in the world can donate to our political campaign here. It's at votedana.ca/donate, or just votedana.ca. We got a nice donate button up in the corner, and put some money in. $4.20, $42, $420 if you can afford it, or whatever helps. And I promise you that all the money that comes into our campaign is getting spent promoting not just the idea of cannabis, but a series of platform and policies that I think are important about more democracy and more sustainability and social justice issues. But what's certainly a main focus of our campaign is ending the war on marijuana, both for medical users and for those who are using cannabis without a doctor's note too.
Mm-hmm. Well, that was definitely evident that the cannabis issue that over the last couple of nights with Tommy there and stuff, it was cool. There was just so much going on, and I wanted to talk to you about your newest release of information that you have here. Oh, I see a little. We might have a little upstairs. We seem to have technical difficulties. I'm not sure what the difference is between the internet up here and downstairs.
Skype or no Skyping?
No Skyping. So if you guys lose us for a minute out there, we're still connected now. No, it says that, but it still connects us here. Although it looks like it's frozen here. Let's see. Usually when we're like this, no, it doesn't say how many viewers we have. We may be off now. Hold on a second. I'll hit refresh. Well, if you guys can't see us, then you won't be hearing anything I say. And if you can, it'll sound funny. But 21 viewers, no, it looks like there's a problem. Okay, guys, we have technical difficulties. Let's see here. We can stop this and start it again. It's very strange. Oh, no, it looks like we're still rolling at some. No, we're still going. We're still going.
Are we on?
All right, we're still on. We thought we lost you guys. Refresh. So, are we still there? Here, let's see. Can you see us? Can you see us?
Yeah, I think it's okay now.
Okay, here. We'll log back in just for 1 second. Ustream is not perfect.
That was me doing the Skype or no Skyping thing on there. I think we're back on.
Okay, good.
Or maybe it's just slow or something.
This system upstairs sucks. I was actually trying to get a little bit of help on finding something better than Ustream, and there seems to be a couple other options, but I don't know. I haven't tried them, so Ustream advertises that they're perfect all the time, and they're not.
And I think it's our internet here that's the problem, but
it could be. Yeah. All right. Well, so we were talking about the newest proposition that you guys are putting forward here, and that's about bringing control of medical marijuana regulation to the province instead of where it is now federally.
Yeah, I think this mirrors what's happening in the U.S., where so many American states have been reclaiming their sovereignty on the medical cannabis issue and taking it over in the state level. And in Canada, we have a division of powers between the federal and the provincial governments, and healthcare and medicine are provincial jurisdiction entirely. The federal government exerts some control because they give a lot of money to the provinces, and in return they get the provinces to pledge to follow the Canada Health Act, which ensures a socialized universal healthcare program in Canada, which the provinces sort of voluntarily opt into because it's very popular and the federal government funds a lot of it for them.
Right.
But all we have to do in British Columbia, once the federal government in Canada, or once the federal Supreme Court ruled that marijuana was a legitimate medicine that patients have the right to have, that makes it then provincial jurisdiction. There's no other medicine that is controlled by the federal government in this way. And so what we should be doing is having the province take the current dispensaries that are out there, go to the growers that are growing for them, but they go to the patients that are out there, get the police and other stakeholders involved, come up with a set of rules and regulations that I imagine would look very much like the self-created rules and regulations that dispensaries are using now.
Right.
You know, there's over a dozen dispensaries in Vancouver and Victoria. There's a handful more scattered around the province. For the most part, they operate openly and freely with little problems. Although one in Courtenay got busted a few weeks ago, and to the best of my knowledge, they were following the same standards as everybody else does. But I don't know for sure, I wasn't there, but everything I've read about them and the police indicates they were doing the same thing, and they just happened to be in a small town, that's all, and that's why they had a problem. And so I think a provincial group or like a set of rules and regulations that would allow dispensaries to operate openly. We could do it like we do with other pharmaceutical drugs. A doctor writes you a prescription, and then you take it to the pharmacy and they fill it for you. Well, same kind of idea. A doctor writes you a prescription for cannabis, you go to a cannabis dispensary, licensed and regulated by the province, and you can buy your medicine if you need. We could also take over the aspect of growing your own medicine and the whole program we could do with it ourselves. And maybe the province could set up their own growing operation. But really, I think we've already got a really good network of things across the province. There's no need for us to do something new. I think we just need to go to those growers, go to the dispensaries, and go to the patients and create a set of rules. The only difference I see is that people who are growing for dispensaries now would have to be sure they're paying their income tax on their cannabis. But we don't need to tax medical marijuana. In fact, I'd say the opposite. It should be subsidized by pharmacare like other pharmaceuticals are, so that people who need it and who are disabled or seniors or whatever can have access to it. And this would actually save us money, I think, in the province, because the fastest growing expense in our healthcare system is the rapid rise in the cost of pharmaceutical drugs. And there's other issues around that as well in regards to patents and that we could deal with. But one important thing is that many members of our dispensary, if not the majority of them, find that when they have access to cannabis medicine, they use less pharmaceuticals. And these pharmaceuticals are expensive. In many cases, they have a lot of dangerous side effects and require other pharmaceuticals to counterbalance them. And marijuana allows our patients to drop a lot of those pharmaceuticals, saving taxpayers dollars, increasing their own health. And it's a win-win. So if we brought these things under pharmacare and made sure patients had access to them in a proper way, I think we'd have a lot of happier patients. We'd take tens of thousands of patients outside of the criminal justice system and put them into the medical healthcare system where they really belong. And then further, if the British Columbia really wanted to go further and challenge the federal government on this issue, we could also decriminalize the possession of marijuana in British Columbia. And we could do this by making an amendment to the Policing Act, where we would defund the police from enforcing marijuana possession. And this is a constitutional kind of a law. We've had this certified by lawyers who have looked at it from the government as well. And so what this would do is that the police would be disempowered from busting people for personal possession, and they would have to, if they did happen to do that, they'd have to write a lengthy report as to why they chose to bust this person for personal possession. And it would essentially decriminalize possession in British Columbia. And then further on with that, we'd have to have an Attorney General and a Premier that would say to the federal government, we demand that you do something different. We want you to fully legalize, tax, and regulate marijuana in Canada. And we could certainly call for this. And too many times our Attorney Generals in too many provinces are applauding the mandatory minimum and saying, yes, we want more jails and more jail sentences and crack down on crime. And they only start to balk when they get handed a bill for what this is going to cost. And then they go, well, we want you to pay for it too. But the fact is the provinces pay for the police, provinces pay for the prisons, they pay for the courts. We also pay for the social costs of people being in prison who shouldn't be there. We're paying the health care bill for all the patients that are using pharmaceutical drugs instead of medicinal marijuana products. It's very expensive for the province, and we really can't afford to continue on this wasteful prison spending spree anymore. And so we need to bring marijuana, medical marijuana patients above ground into the legal system and to stop persecuting people who possess marijuana, whether or not they have a doctor's note.
Exactly. Well, that's really cool. Dana, now, just to go back to the medical thing again, specifically, what is wrong with the system we have now in Canada? I mean, there's lots, but... It's
a system that's designed by people who want it to fail. I mean, the federal government, both Liberals and Conservatives, were really forced into creating the medical marijuana program to court decisions, and the courts ruled that if they didn't allow access to medical marijuana, that the whole marijuana law would be struck down and marijuana would be entirely legal. And in fact, that happened for a while. There was a year there where marijuana, 2006 I think it was, where marijuana was pretty much legal in Canada. 2003? Okay, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. 2003. And Mark Emery
tour.
Yeah, Mark Emery flew across Canada smoking marijuana in front of police stations to draw attention to it, and they tried to arrest him a few times, but ultimately all the charges were dropped, and he demonstrated that marijuana was legal in Canada for many, many months, and the earth didn't shake, nothing bad happened, everything was fine. But the fact is that the medical marijuana program is a failure, and it's a failure for a number of reasons. Partly because they make it very difficult for patients to get permission to access medical marijuana. It's a very restrictive process that slowly eased up. They used to require more specialists and things, and slowly court decisions have whittled away at that a little bit.
Right.
But they still require more medical supervision and more medical assistance than you need to get opiates or other more dangerous substances. And then even when you've got your doctors on board and you've got all your paperwork on board, the government takes many, many months to process these applications. Sometimes they lose them. I was watching a YouTube video of a guy recently, the government sent him the paperwork of other patients, violating their confidentiality. He had them on his phone, on his speakerphone, chastising them. They were like, can you please send that back to us and don't tell anybody? And he's like, look, this is really violating people's privacy. It's really incompetent how they run this program on many levels. And so you're someone who's got a terminal disease or a severe sickness. You get your paperwork, you send it in, then you have to wait 4 or 5 months to get permission. Then you start growing your plants. You might be able to get a crop or two in. Just because you've got a terrible disease does not make you an expert marijuana grower. They've made very restrictive rules to find someone else to grow for you. It's not easy to do. No. And then so you get your crop growing, and then you apply for the next year. You apply nice and early because you know how long it takes them, and then they don't get it back to you on time. So now you're supposed to tear down your whole crop, kill all your medicinal plants that haven't reached their harvest yet.
Or you're a criminal.
And too often patients get busted by the police. The police call Health Canada to check, is this a medical marijuana grow-up? The Health Canada says, nope, they're not legal. And they go, okay, they bust them. And the police don't even know that the guy was legal 2 weeks ago. He's going to be legal again in a month or 2 months whenever Health Canada gets their act together and gets in his paperwork. So it's a really failed system.
And it's actually happened where they've gone into people's homes, cut their power before Christmas, cut down people's grow shows, damaged their equipment.
Yeah, you've got AIDS or cancer or epilepsy or arthritis. Happy Christmas, Grandma. We're going to take down your medicine and leave you. And the other option patients have is to buy the federal government's marijuana. And it's a notoriously low-quality product. They actually shred the buds, add stalks into it, and shred that into it to reduce the potency. If you don't know, stalks are the part you're supposed to throw away. You don't smoke the stalks, right? That's bad. And then Health Canada says, we don't recommend you smoke it, but if you do anything else with it, you're breaking the law. If you make cookies or a tincture or an extract, you're breaking the law, but we don't recommend you smoke it. Don't do that. And so it's a design to fail. Then they freeze dry it, irradiate it, and store it in their room for many, many months. And they sell it to patients for $5 a gram. And we have cannabis at our dispensaries that goes from $5 to $10 a gram. Even the cheapest, lowest grade cannabis that we sell is infinitely better than the Health Canada product. And I guarantee that the stuff that we sell that's $10 a gram is far more than twice as potent and twice the medicinal value of Health Canada's swaggy $5 stuff. And of course, we also, dispensaries, not just ours, but pretty much all the dispensaries offer many non-smokable products. We offer tinctures, we offer capsules, we offer oils, we offer topical creams and lotions, all kinds of different ways of consuming this medicine, foods and many different ways. And it's not just about smoking,
Yeah, but as you said before, that's not included in the MMAR system they have now, right? Edibles and extracts and stuff, that's not accounted for, is it?
Not at all. No, they don't account for that, and as a result, it's a terrible hypocrisy. It's just one of many ways how this program is designed to fail. The need for someone who's got a terminal ailment or an ailment which is not curable to have to reapply every single year is just pure bureaucratic nightmare. There's no reason for that at all.
No.
And it slows down the whole system. It ruins people's ability to medicate themselves. And really, although I think you should have the right to grow this medicine if you need it, that's not really the long-term solution for most people. You don't grow your own penicillin at home. You don't make your own aspirin. For the vast majority of patients, they should be able to go somewhere and buy it cheaply and affordably. Exactly. And marijuana medicines could be a lot cheaper. If we had a legal and regulated system, we could drop the prices drastically. It's simply a prohibition tax, what makes it so expensive. And even though it's still cheaper than many other pharmaceutical things, we could drop the price of cannabis quite substantially if we had a system where it was taxed and regulated, if people could grow it on a larger scale, so they're not being forced to grow it always in a basement, a few plants at a time, being able to grow it in an industrial area,
right,
or in a field, or in a greenhouse where cannabis medicines really belong to be grown, in the outdoors, or in a greenhouse environment where you can get the best of the outdoors and the indoors all in one spot. That's the future of marijuana. And although I absolutely support the right of patients to be able to grow their own medicine, I think that ultimately most patients would prefer to be able to go to a dispensary where there's 30 different kinds of cannabis, dozens of different other medicinal cannabis products at a highly affordable and accessible price. And the only reason they're growing their own, for the most part, is because they can't access that in their own community, or the price is restricted because of prohibition, that we can't get this medicine to them at an affordable rate. And patients get squeezed in the middle. We have municipalities saying, we don't want these patients growing this stuff. They're getting robbed and beaten, and that's bad for us. And it's like, well, the sick and dying person is getting robbed and beaten of their medicine, and then you're attacking them as the person doing something wrong. They're just trying to follow the rules. It's not their fault they got a terrible disease. It's not their fault the only medicine that helps them happens to be one that's banned.
Yeah.
But they get stuck in the middle. Health Canada creates these terrible rules. They try to grow it at home, and then the municipality says, you can't do this here because you're attracting a bad element and you're causing problems. And it's a lose-lose for patients and for communities and for everybody.
Totally.
And I think the future is dispensaries, it's grassroots dispensaries like what we have now, and there's a lot more coming in British Columbia. We're on the verge of a big wave that's going to fill this province with dispensaries, and ultimately the country with dispensaries, the same way that California has them all over the place. They're coming to BC too. And the question is, are we going to let this as a province happen the way it is now, as a self-regulating industry where we don't really know for sure what anybody's doing or what's going on? Or are we going to try to take control as a province, to tax it, to regulate it more, I should say, than to tax it, to regulate it, to control it, and to have it so it's the same standard, the same qualities all across the province.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned tax there. Where do you stand on that whole idea?
So I don't think medical marijuana should be taxed. I think if you're buying marijuana without a doctor's note in a cafe or a restaurant or in a liquor store or however we sell it legally that way, sure, tax it. That's fine with me. And we can tax marijuana, have a higher quality and lower cost product than the street price now if we did it right. I don't think anyone would be willing to pay $500 an ounce for crappy legal marijuana when the guy outside is still selling it for $200 an ounce and it's high quality. It's not going to happen.
No.
So the legal system needs to be one where the price is equal to or lower than we're paying now, and the quality is equal to or better than what we're getting now. But we could do that and still make a lot of tax revenue off it. The only tax revenue I see new for medical marijuana is from the growers. And some growers do pay taxes, some may not, I don't know. But I understand why growers feel they don't want to pay taxes when they don't enjoy the benefits of being part of civilization and society.
Right.
If you're a grower who can't call the police when your livelihood is ruined, if you're a grower who can't enjoy the benefits of society in terms of legal protection that everyone else gets for their business, then why should you pay income tax? You're not being included. You don't get the benefits of those things. And of course, they'd still be paying tax on, when they buy things and other kinds of tax. But they're probably, some marijuana growers aren't paying income tax on their growing, and they have to do that in a legal system. But the benefit they get, they can grow more, they can grow it openly, they can grow it legally, and they could have a guaranteed sale to dispensaries. So, it's a benefit to everybody, and I think that's what you have to accept if you're going to come above board. But it's a small price to pay to end this terrible war.
Mm-hmm. Dana, we were talking just before the show about a related issue with taxing right now dispensaries. Do you want to talk a little bit about what we were talking about before?
Yeah, sure. Well, there's, when the British Columbia Compassion Club Society opened, and they're one of the oldest dispensaries or compassion clubs in Canada, when they opened in BC, they went to Revenue Canada and they said, do we have to charge GST and PST? Well, not PST, but GST specifically. Does that apply to pharmaceutical? Because it doesn't apply to pharmaceutical medicines.
No.
Do we have to charge it on marijuana? And Revenue Canada said, we're not going to tell you. And so they said, okay. So they consulted their tax lawyers and decided that marijuana is closest to a prescription medication, the way it's treated, the way we require a doctor's recommendation or prescription, the same way for pharmaceuticals. So they said, no, we're not going to charge GST on it. And most of the other clubs across Canada don't charge GST, and now in BC they've expanded the PST to make it so the HST would apply to this, right? So we don't charge it to our medicines, and none of the other clubs in BC, and very few clubs in Canada do. And now recently, a club in Ontario, I think it's in Guelph, Rade's club, is that in Guelph? Yeah. There's a club in Guelph that's in a conflict with Revenue Canada over whether or not they owe back taxes on the GST applicable to their medicine. And the federal government, they do charge GST on their swaggy $5 a gram pot that they sell, but I don't think that's applicable. And so this court case is happening right now, and if this club loses, then Revenue Canada will probably go after all the other clubs and ask us for back taxes for all the GST and HST we haven't charged over the years.
Right.
And so the longer and more established your club has been, the bigger your liability is going to be. And they see potential to rake in a lot of cash here, right? But ultimately, I think this is the wrong way to go. You know, cannabis is a prescription medication, the way it's dealt with. If they want to tax it, then let's not make it prescription medication anymore. Let's make it available to everybody, like any other herb.
Right.
But if they want to tax it with GST and HST, then it's not. They can't do that to prescription medications. And although cannabis is treated differently than other prescription medications, it's really in its own category. That category, I'd say, is closest to prescription medication than anything else. It's really tighter than a prescription medication. It requires more doctors' recommendation. It requires more scrutiny and more difficulty.
Special
to get
card from the government. Imagine if you had to get a card from the government every time you wanted Tylenol 3s or something.
Yeah, it's a level of scrutiny that goes beyond any other medicine, including many other medicines that are highly addictive and high potential for abuse, and you can overdose and kill yourself on quite easily. So it's really clearly an ideological concern with this natural plant medicine than any kind of real health or safety concern, because those are really minimal. And the system doesn't deal with any of those kind of issues anyways. The way to ensure safe medicinal products is not to say, here, go make it in your own home. Good luck. The way to make safe medicinal products is to have a regulated, safe industry that has oversight, and that we have some kind of legislative and regulatory control over, right? So that's what we need in British Columbia. And there's a precedent for this with the Insight decision. You know, Insight started out, the supervised injection site in the downtown east side, started out as a federal program with a federal exemption to operate. And then after the Conservatives got in, they started trying to shut it down, and British Columbia went to court and said, well, actually, you know, it's actually provincial jurisdiction because it's healthcare. This is a healthcare facility. And although the Supreme Court of Canada still has to rule on this, the other courts so far have ruled that British Columbia is correct. Insight does not require federal exemption or anything at all. It's out of their jurisdiction because it is a healthcare facility. And what I see in our dispensaries, they are healthcare facilities. And I don't think it's much of a stretch, of any kind of legal stretch, to argue that they are also entirely provincial jurisdiction. And I believe we would win any kind of court case like that quite easily. And we should have a premier and an attorney general that stand up and do that and fight for the rights of what are really, there's probably over 10,000 patients in our province currently using dispensaries, and close to 100,000 more patients who are legitimate medical patients who are getting their marijuana on the street. And that doesn't benefit anybody at all.
I think it's a great idea, and it would, I mean, obviously we need changes with our medical marijuana program in Canada. I mean, the government really right now is trying to have it both ways, and there's this strange hypocrisy where it's, you know, officially illegal, but yet it's still happening, and they acknowledge the fact that it's part of the program or part of the medical marijuana situation. But then at the same time they want to collect taxes from it, even though they're still saying that it's illegal. So, you know, and I guess Revenue Canada doesn't care. They'll tax anything.
Well, they certainly took a lot of Mark Emery's tax money before sending him off to the Huskow in the U.S., where he's sitting now in Georgia. And you can follow his travels and adventures at freemark.ca, of course.
Yes.
We want to bring him home as soon as we can. And I got to run away here soon, but votedana.ca is my website. My campaign is based on democracy, sustainability, social justice, and being smart on crime. I'm certainly standing up for the rights of medicinal cannabis users and against the war on marijuana in British Columbia and around the world. And if you think these issues are important and you like what I'm saying, check my website out. Maybe send me a few dollars. We need all the money we can get to fight this campaign. It's very expensive, and we have a lot of traveling to do around the province, and I'm really pleased with how it's going. We've had like 8 debates so far. I certainly hold my own. I win over converts at every debate. And a lot of people are telling me they've never joined a political party before in their lives, whether they're teenagers, whether they're senior citizens, you know, all ends of the political spectrum. People are getting on board and joining the NDP to support my campaign. And it's not just about this leadership campaign. You know, we have End Prohibition, the group that I run within the NDP to help fight against the war on cannabis. Within the NDP, NDP members banding together against the war on drugs. We have a provincial convention coming up in BC in November. We've got the federal convention coming up in June. There's a ton of stuff happening within the NDP to get involved in. And I hope that if you're out there, you'll join our party. Go to bcndp.ca/join. It's only a few dollars to get involved in the party, and you can make a really big difference. And don't think that you can't make a difference, because just one person can do a lot. and as a team, we can change the world. So I got to run.
Awesome, Dana. Thank you so much. Excellent. As usual.
You're gonna show the Tommy Chong fundraising highlights after this.
That's right. I'm gonna roll a little joint here and just make sure everything's good with the footage, and we'll play the an intimate evening with Chong and Chong, the fundraiser for the Dana Larsen campaign.
Well, and if you enjoy what you see, remember Tommy Chong joined the NDP. If it's good enough for Tommy Chong, it should be good enough for you. So join our party, get involved, send us some money. You know, Tommy Chong gave very generously of his time and his energy to come here and perform for us for free, and to share his views and his experiences with us. So, you know, let that be an inspiration to you to also get involved. I don't think Tommy Chong's ever been part of a political party before, and he's like in his 70s, right? So he's, you know, so if he can do it, you can do it too. So get involved. Let's make a real change in this province and around the world. And thank you for your time. It was great being here.
Awesome, thanks, Dana.
Thank you very
much. And what Dana's saying about the NDP is true. It's a good party to be your first party to get into. It was the first time I ever got into any sort of party politics was with the NDP, and I actually went to university and I started seeing a couple of the NDP people around and asked them questions. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you later. Hey, you want to send Greg around? I might need his help. Yep. Thanks, guys. Yeah, but anyways, I joined the NDP because I started hanging out with some of the federal candidates, who was Leonard Krogh and Gene Crowder at the time. I'm from Nanaimo. And I went up and I talked to them myself, you know, and they had nothing but really great things to say, and both of them supported the decriminalization, at the very least, of marijuana, and actually the full legalization. They both did. And, you know, I was going to share an anecdote with you guys, but I'm just going to ask Greg here how we're doing over there. Greg, how's that footage rolling in? Are we close? We're trying to turn it into an MP4 so I can import it into the program and play it to you guys now. And while I do all this stuff, I'm going to roll a joint here in the background. Someone buy Jeremiah a Ferrari. That would be so nice. That would be really nice. We demand a weed tie, they're telling me. They need a weed tie. You know what? I don't have any weed ties. If somebody wants to get me a weed tie, I would be happy to wear it on the air. You can send that to 307 West Hastings.
You got one of those data sticks?
Oh, data stick I have. Nice. So it sounds like it worked out. Sorry guys, little technical stuff going on here. Yeah, I should, you know, more often I should go through and read the comments anyway. I love that you guys hang out and comment, and I'm sorry that I don't get a chance to do it more often. With our 1 hour show, it's often hard to have enough time to really do that sort of stuff. But yeah, I do appreciate everything. Oh, and I noticed people were talking about the cats. The cats, they want to see the cats. Well, you know what? The cat right there is laying buds. I don't know where Tippy is. Tippy is the cat you saw last week that kept getting in the way of the show. He definitely sort of runs this office. But Buds is just chilling over there right now. I guess I could turn him. He's too hard to see. You guys will see him on the next show. We'll let the cats be spontaneous and interrupt when they feel like it. And they will. Because I probably will be filming up here at the. I don't know how the background's going to look and stuff, but I'm going to continue filming up here because you guys can actually hear me now. You can actually like see what's going on here as well. Right, I'm going to roll this joint, and I was talking about the NDP, and I was talking about why I joined. But I wanted to tell you guys about something that happened one time, and I knew, you know, with a lot of the other parties, people are always complaining that the parties are all the same. And I understand that cynicism. You know, when you look at, in the United States especially, you look at the Democratic Party and you look at the Republican Party, often it's really hard to see the differences between those parties. I mean, and George Bush made some of those differences a little easier to see. But often, you know, people criticize and say it's a false paradigm. They're all basically part of the same group. You know, they're protecting their interests. Really what they are is just big-time, high-profile gangsters who are able to manipulate the system to their advantage. Of course, in Canada, the same type of thing happens. We have the Conservative Party of Canada, and we have the Liberal Party of Canada. And it's, again, this sort of back-and-forth two-party politic type stuff. But the NDP is actually a third-party option, and but still, they get criticized as too similar to the Liberal Party of Canada, and possibly too similar to the Conservatives. But I can tell you that in talking to many members of the NDP, I mean, like MP, members of Parliament, and these type of people, they are not like the Conservatives at all. They are not like Stephen Harper. When I talk to Libby Davies about the drug war, Libby Davies is our friend, and it's not just a political issue for these people. They really care about these things. And this is the thing I was going to tell you guys. One time, I live in Burnaby, and I live in the riding of a guy named Bill Sixay, who is our member of parliament for my district. And people, I love the comments. The Arsenio arm pump. I was watching some episodes of Arsenio the other day. Anyways, I was really riled up about, this was when Bill C-15 was being pushed by the Conservatives before it was called S-10, and Stephen Harper and his thugs were on television talking about it and saying ridiculous things that they always do in the press. And so I called Bill 6A up myself and left him a message on his answering machine and just spouted off a bunch of talking points about the drug war and stuff. And when I listened to him, I tuned into Question Period the next day, in the Parliament House here in Canada, in Ottawa. I heard Bill 6A say exactly what I said into his answering machine. He basically repeated it back word for word, almost the entire thing. And then he called me back the next day, and we had never met before this, never talked. I didn't tell him I was the editor of a magazine. I didn't say anything. I just said, I'm one of your constituents. I'm in your riding. And he called me back the next day, and I didn't answer, but he left me a message. And he, in his message, and I did end up talking to him after the fact, but he said that, I listened to what you said, I liked it, and I basically repeated it in Parliament, and luckily I was there to watch it. So that was cool. With the NDP, you have access to these people. And I'm sure if you're a Liberal Party supporter, you can probably go and talk to your Liberal MP or MLA. But the difference is these people seem human when I talk to them. They don't just seem like political machines who are concerned only with getting votes and that's it. It seems to me like these people actually care about these issues and they care about people's pain and suffering. And they're nice enough to... I mean, I've never had an MP call me back. I've called a lot of MPs' offices before, believe me. And I've never had one of them call me back like that before, just knowing that I'm not an editor and not anything to do with the media, and be so kind. So I really felt in touch with the political process when that happened. So that's the kind of stuff that the NDP I think is a little bit different than those other parties. So quit stalling and roll it. Greg, how's that going over there?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. And
Before you get it.
Before I get it, I'm grinding up some herb here. This is very nice. I think this is White Widow. And maybe I'll put this in a bong and smoke it. Greg, is there any bongs in this office? None? I'm actually sitting in Marijuana Man's office right now. And this is where he does his show, his old show, and the new show that he does now. The Grow Show is back on the front page of CC and on Pot TV, so tune into that as well. But I'm gonna turn you guys around so you can see the room here, and that way I can escape for a second and go and steal a bong from the lounge. And I'll show you. This is our studios here. Oh, there's Marijuana Man sitting right there. Oh, and we have Al, the artist, peeking in the door. Al, you're live on the internet right now, brother.
Hi guys, how
There. Why don't you show them what you got in your sack there for a second? I'm gonna go and grab a bong. This is Al Sayers.
Okay, watch. Okay,
Potluck artist
my latest
extraordinaire.
drawing for Dave Malmo is Jack Kerouac
Nice.
with
Can you guys see this? Put it up a little closer so they can check that out.
nice sepia background. That's got to be the greatest quote of all time. If you think about it. Everybody, read that quote, please.
It says, for those who can't read it,
read the top.
it says, revoke the Harrison Act, and on the bottom, it will cause desperate criminals and gunmen to arise from our midst. Jack Kerouac.
And what's interesting, since I'm on camera,
Beautiful.
since I'm on camera,
Where'd you put it, Greg? Oh, did he? Okay.
here's another one. Since we're live, there's my Louis Armstrong.
Put it up closer.
Where's the eye? Oh, there it is.
There it is.
So everybody, look. Makes you feel good, man. Should I just give them all right now?
So what? Show them a couple more. But where can people find this stuff? How do people get this stuff from you? If people want these posters,
through you, Jeremiah,
all right.
and through.
So if anybody's interested in any of this artwork, shoot me an email at Jeremiah.
I will actually. I'm going to milk this for all I can get. So there's my downtown stuff.
This is the pot block. This is where we broadcast our show from down here. We have quite the pot neighborhood, and there's dispensaries and seed places and vapor lounges.
There it is.
And this is what it looks like. He does drawings of it.
There it is. Because I'm just doing backwards here.
Okay, you show that. I'm grabbing a bong.
Okay, everybody. Since Jeremiah's gone, my downtown work. I can't present it very good. It's all about the downtown east side, all the drawings of the downtown. But the stuff I'm really interested in is the work with Dave Malmo
David Malmo Levine, activist extraordinaire.
And he has pushed worst presenter in the world, okay? Worst presenter in the world. Hang on.
That's all right. They can look at some of our pot porn in the background.
There's Keith Richard, smoking hash.
Nice. You do a bunch of these ones with the colored backgrounds.
Yeah, there's Mick Jagger getting busted in '72. There's Paul McCartney saying it's a bit of a stupid thing to worry about marijuana. Mick again, which is
Get all pot activists and famous people who use pot.
Louis Armstrong again. Allen Ginsberg.
Wow. Nice, man. That was nice.
Yes, I actually like the Allen Ginsberg's great. Mr. Naked Lent, William S. Burroughs.
Yeah.
Very poignant piece, he says. Oh, this is, sorry, I'm shifting to, that's Ronnie James Dio.
Woo! Man!
Other than that, yeah.
All right.
Okay,
cool, man. Well, that's cool, Al. Thank you for showing your stuff off.
Jeremiah.
I'm going to plug this little thing in.
Mr. Dave Malmo, and
there you go.
Thank you.
Thanks, Al.
Absolutely.
Cool. So, yeah, if you guys want to find some of that kind of artwork, you can get a hold of me. Al, you should have a website up, brother. You need a website. We're going to work on that because he's got a ton of cool stuff, and he's been doing it forever. We've actually published some of his work on Cannabis Culture before, and in the print magazine, Mark Emery wrote a great article about Rastafari in one of our last issues, our print issues, and Al did all the artwork for it, so that was really cool. So I'm just going to put those drawings or art on some attire for Jeremiah. Hey, there's an idea. Al could make me a tie. That would be cool. That would be very cool. Okay, so let me just, I have this little clip for you guys. It's actually about 35 minutes long, so this is going to be, I'm just going to set this up, and while I'm setting it up, I'll load my bong. So this was our intimate evening with Chong and Chong the other night at the Rio Theatre, and it's about 35 minutes long. The first thing that happens is, I guess Dana maybe introduces them, but it's Tommy and Shelby, and they come out and they talk for a little while and do their little comedy routine thing that they do, but they're really mostly talking about the drug war. And then Dana comes out and has a discussion with them as well, which is really cool, and to see them interact. And yeah, I had a great time there. Unfortunately, all the photos I had, I was going to flip through some of the photos here, but you guys will just see it on the video. Here's my bong rip first. White Widow, delicious, delicious. So if you guys are out there, spark them up. Let me just load this in now. Add video shot. So this video comes to us from the hardworking marijuana man. All right, so let's load this in, and it looks good. All right, guys. So without any further ado, I will play the video for you, and if there's any sound problems or anything like that, let me know in the comment section. I'll be sitting around watching this for a little while and make sure that everything's cool. So if you have any troubles, let me know, and I'll see you guys on the flip side here.
Some of his adventures and experiences at the freemark.ca site, and we hope to get him home soon, so please help to bring Mark Emery home. He's made his appeal to the American government to be sent back, and they're looking at it right now. And then hopefully they'll agree to that in the next few months, and then we have to apply to the Canadian government, and that will actually be a harder challenge. And if you haven't already done so, please put a letter in the mail to our public safety minister and to the Conservative government, and also tell the Liberals and the NDP that you want to see them stand up on this more too, and that we're going to bring Mark home as soon as we can. And you know, and Mark's just one of far too many people. Mark and Tommy Chong are just two people of so many who have gone to prison for this wonderful plant because it helps them feel better, because it's their medicine, because it's their connection to the source, it's their spiritual use. However you use this plant, nobody should be going to jail for it. And too many people suffer in silence. We all know about Mark Emery, we all know about Tommy Chong and what's happening to them. But so many other people who are in jail for marijuana, we don't hear their stories, and we don't hear the way their lives have been affected and the challenges they've had, but it happens every day. And it's time for this war to end. Yeah. And that's the main reason I'm in politics and why I'm here today and why I'm working in the NDP is because it's time for this war on marijuana to end. And we need a political voice, and the NDP has become that voice for our party. And I will not cease in my efforts until marijuana is legalized in this country. And and I'm not the only one in the room who feels that way. But, whether or not I win this leadership race now, I will continue to work within the NDP. I believe that ultimately we're looking to change a law that's written down on a piece of paper, and we need to change that law and make something different. And that involves politicians getting into our government, getting into the legislature, getting into parliament, and changing these laws. And I've had two people tell me tonight that they've never joined a political party before, but they liked what I had to say, and they decided to join the NDP and to get involved. And that is very inspiring to me, that people like the message that we're bringing and that they want to get involved and make a difference. And there's a lot of things we can do. We've had some amazing rallies, we have protests, we have civil disobedience, we've built stores and businesses to sell the items of our culture and to sell medical marijuana. And those are all part of the solution, creating that awareness and getting people activated. And ultimately, we need to have a political solution, and we need to get involved in politics, to join political parties, get involved in the NDP, or join a different party if the NDP is not the one for you, because we need people in every single party working to make a difference and to end this war. And so I am so honored to represent our culture in the political sphere, and we're going to be having a lot of debates and leadership contests over the coming weeks of this campaign, and I'll be bringing forward this message and talking about this issue over and over again. And I think it's time to bring out Tommy and Shelby now. So they're going to do a question and answer, talk to you, and then I'll come on a little bit later and have a few more words to say. Thank you very much. Thank you, Tommy and Shelby.
Good evening. Did everybody get high? Don't you love pot? Isn't it the best thing in the whole world? Oh, the NDP. The new pot party. Oh, Tommy's walking away. Did you guys enjoy the movie? What a flashback for us. Wow. It's the first time I really was able to really watch the movie, because when it was first... Thank you. When we first saw it, I used to sit in the audience in shock, because the whole time he was in jail, and the year before, I think I was in shock. It was like, what a trip. I don't know, how many people out there have been busted? Yeah.
The whole audience.
Yeah, the whole audience. So you guys know what it's like, yeah.
Sucks.
They like to bust you when it's dark outside, because they want to scare the shit out of you, right? At least in America, that's what they do. Right, Tommy?
That's right. But anyway, thank you for coming and enjoying the movie. That was nice. And it's, yeah. I love it. Every time I see that movie, I cry and go, wow. They really did that, didn't they? It was a trip, And you don't think, I thought, that I was going to be a rebel. I was going to fight it. I was going to take it to court, and I was going to show them how good marijuana really is for you. And then my lawyer started, talking sense into me.
Yeah.
It's not about marijuana, man. It was a great learning experience. But having to make that choice was an honor, because it was time to step up. And like I said in the movies, I had made a lot of money, I made a lot of money talking about my favorite herb. And, when it was time to go to jail with the rest of you, then I said, okay, I can do that.
But it really is time to legalize it, right? It's ridiculous. I mean, it's just nuttiness that after all these years that people are in jail for 20 years for pot. I mean, that people are in jail for that.
Well, Dana pointed it out earlier. We did an interview, and he pointed out the fact that they didn't care when they made it illegal because they really were demonizing the Mexican culture and the black culture by saying, by using that as an excuse, that smoking pot made black guys horny for white women.
Which is true.
Which is true. And that's one of the reasons I started smoking it. Because I was a black guy, and boy, I learned to love white women.
You learned to like women.
So, but they made it illegal with the truth, really, because it is true. It does make you horny. Which is why white people are smoking it now. Same thing. And what happened? Well, look at the history. Because when they made it illegal, it was, demonized Mexicans and demonized the black culture, demonized Chinese, because the Chinese were right in there too.
Now they hate stoners, hippies, because that became the.
Well, then that's how they demonized our culture. They just called us hippies, and that's what Bush was doing when they went after me for the bombs. They were. This is my, sort of reasoning, is that they came after. They did a preemptive strike on the hippie movement. Right away they're going to put us in jail and have us worried about fighting their legal bills, because that's how they fight you. That's how they get you. They can charge you with anything ridiculous and force you to hire attorneys and spend a lot of money. The government, when they run out of money, they print up some more, so you'll never win. And the only way you can win is, like I found out, is that you don't fight.
But the only way we can win now is people get out and vote. It's so important. And in California, we had Proposition 19. It was going to legalize pot, and not enough people came out to vote. So I know it didn't pass, but it was very close. And so that felt good. And, next time it comes on the ballot, I know it's going to pass. So it just takes everybody really getting out and telling your friends and really getting out and voting. And now we have a reason to vote. Right? You have somebody running who is going to help our society, the pot society. So, I mean, it's fantastic. And it's fantastic that he wants Tommy to help him out.
He asked me, why don't you run for office? I can see me, no, I'd make a terrible politician. The worst. The worst. It's like being a lawyer. I couldn't do that either. No, I do what I do. I'm an artist, and I'm going to be showing some of my artwork here very shortly. Yeah, the $1 million bonds, one of them. Okay, what would you like to know about us?
Any questions?
While we're here,
Okay.
if you haven't been charged with selling glass bombs out of Vancouver, would you have got the same sentence you did down in the States?
I don't know, to tell you the truth. First of all, I don't think they would have charged me in Vancouver, in Canada. Oh, the DEA would, yeah. No, the DEA could, yeah. And the reason the DEA can come across the borders is because of the treaties that America had. Every country that they give money to, they had them sign this treaty, which allows them to go anywhere in the world and arrest people for drug violations in the U.S.
They do?
Oh, the DEA has an office here? Yeah, see, that was one of the reasons Mark got time in jail, is because he made a fool out of the drug czar. Yes. Yeah. Mark did. And he's paying the price, But the thing is, he would have put him in jail anyway, That's just the way these people are. And the thing is, they're really hard on Mark because he kept fighting. With me, I just sort of like...
Mark is a political prisoner.
Smiled
Tommy didn't want to go in the hole. That was too scary. Mark's been in the hole how many times now? It's like, oh my God. Oh, so sad.
But he's younger. He can do it. Yeah, the old guys, you know.
You're living in LA, you're partying, big, huge house, and in BC, you can have a little cabin up here for the same price. And would you get arrested if you're living here selling glass bombs or not?
No, I could. I imagine I could. I would never would. You know, I mean, that's one business I don't think I'll ever get into. You know. But I will sell my art in like this here is it's not a pipe. It's not a pipe, and the instructions are: you do not remove the bead, and you do not take the string out of the. You do not, and you do not put the substance at this one end here, and you definitely do not hold a match to it and light it with the other end. You don't do that. This is part of my art collection, which we're traveling the world with. Okay, any other questions? Fire away.
We can't really see from up here, so you guys
I'm
just...
faking it, man.
You claim that you don't remember this, but I have 2 Jimi Hendrix biographies and an eyewitness that say that you and Jimi Hendrix played guitar together at the Smiling Buddha in 1962 on Hastings Street. Is it possible you're smoking so much Italian tobacco that you don't remember playing guitar with Jimi Hendrix?
Well, he wasn't Jimi Hendrix at the time. He'd have to be Jimmy Jones. And let's see, a black guy from Seattle. That's possible. That's very possible. Up here in Vancouver, very possible. Boy. Anyhow, I'm just having a thought. I was back in the day there for a minute. It's possible. It's very possible. I know Hendrix knew me because when I met him in England, he walked up to the stage and he said, "Hey, how are you doing, Tommy?" "Oh, Jimi Hendrix." And he said, "Do you mind if I sit in?" I loved it. I loved that. Hendrix asked me, "Do you mind if I sit in?" And I had such an urge to go, maybe the last set. Because we rehearsed. But I said, no, come on, Jimmy, of course. And he couldn't play my guitar because it was a right-handed guitar, so he played bass instead. A hell of a bass player. And then we went back to our hotel room after and partied with Jimi Hendrix. But you got to remember, Hendrix was a heroin addict, so partying with heroin addicts is... Here's my impersonation of smoking a joint with a heroin addict. And that's what happened with Jimmy. Jimmy never came out of the bathroom or the bedroom. And then everyone, hey, Jimi Hendrix is here. Yeah, where? It's in the bathroom. But girls were sneaking up elevator shafts and climbing through the windows. And, they're doing anything to get at this guy, you know. The black guy from Seattle. He was a trip.
Did Cheech
Okay,
visit
any other
you?
questions?
When
Any
you
more
were in
acting?
jail?
Oh yeah, we're almost finished.
Yeah, he's writing a movie right now.
Almost finished the next Cheech and Chong movie. And I can't show Cheech the script until I make sure that he's signed on. Because he's going to be doing a lot of acting in this one. But it's a takeoff. And, well, what it is, we hadn't seen each other for. We're members of a blues band, fictional blues band, and we once had a hit, and then we broke up, because Cheech became an art dealer, a very successful art dealer. I became a street singer, and then she loses everything in a Madoff investment scheme, and he has to. The only money he can make is that he has to team up with his old partner again, and so he tries to bond with me, and I take him on a great journey. I make him become Cheech that we knew before. So it's a good movie. It's very funny. And of course, my gorgeous co-star is going to have a big co-starring part in there.
He hasn't written my part yet, but...
I wrote one part, and your son shot it down. He's writing a better one for you.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
My son will be producing this movie, too. And we also got animation coming out. We animated our old record bits, you know, like the drive-in movie theater bit, you know. That's really funny. That's very funny. And so that'll be coming out in the summer. Questions from the audience?
Tommy, when did you start seeing your comedy as more than just entertainment and as a way of making social change?
Right from the very beginning. Right from the very first word we said on the tape, you know, when Dave's not here, it said it. It showed you the culture that the cops were busting daily and how stupid they were. And right from day one, our first album, we had a bit about Jesus trying to get across the Mexican border with the long hair, and they wouldn't let him in. Oh yeah, Vietnam, we had the Vietnam. Roger Fox dogs, Roger Fox dogs. Roger's a weird dude, man. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing not much has changed. You know, we're at war again.
Another war, the same shit going on, man. Well, the good thing is that the weed, you know, the weed was ordained to us by God. It's in the Bible. I just did some more research. That it wasn't an apple that Eve gave Adam. It was a bud. It makes sense, doesn't it? The fruit from the tree of knowledge, and the tree of good and evil. The knowledge, yeah, it's a knowledge tree. Turns you on. That's what Adam and Eve.
Oh, so he gave her a bud that wasn't an apple?
Eve gave Adam the bud. Said, eat this. You want some of this, you eat that. And I don't think it was an apple he was eating either. I think he was eating a peach. Nice, soft, warm peach where you could just stick his lungs in. And he'd have peach juice all over his beard. And he could lick it going, that tastes like peach. I mean, that's my version of the Bible. I don't know. But he gave us green herb, and he said, it shall be for me. And think about when he gave it to us. He was in the middle of constructing the whole world, man, the whole universe. He was making galaxies and moons and suns, stars, all that shit.
He couldn't have been a stoner then. There's
but
no way.
He was a stoner.
No. How could he be doing all that if he was fucked up?
He wasn't fucked up. On the sixth day, the Bible, the sixth day of creation, he gave us green herb. And that's when the shit stopped. He quit work that day, man. Because on the seventh day, he rested. Yeah, he rested. Motherfucker was high going, whoa. Looking at his artwork, man. Imagine being God, looking out and seeing all the billions of galaxies. Fuck, that's good, man. That's nice. But he took time out to give us a green herb. And the green herb is what nourishes us. And it clothed us. And it fed us. And it fed the brain. And it heals us. And it does all these great things. When you think about how fucked up our society is, the thing that gives you cancer is legal. Tobacco. The thing that helps you cure cancer is illegal. The pot. That's how what a grip the pharmaceutical companies has on the world. Yeah, they got it. And they're the ones that are trying to keep this shit the way it is going. But the internet is fucking everything up, man. The internet and Charlie Sheen. Charlie Sheen sold it. He showed us ignorance to the nth degree. And he did it every night, and he's still doing it. I love Charlie.
Will he be in your movie?
Fire me? Fuck you. I don't need no $2 million a show. Every week? $2 million every time I did a half-hour fucking 22-minute show? Oh, Charlie's really thinking that again. Oh, well, fuck him, man. He'll ask me back. Yeah, right, Charlie. But Charlie, think about it. What did he give it all up for? No, pussy. It was what came after the dope. That peach. The root of all evil. Okay, what other questions? Anything else? Oh, do the political thing?
Can you run in Canada?
I really, I really don't have the temperament for it, I really don't. And definitely don't have the ambition. Fuck that. I want to be an artist, man. I want to sit in a little room with the jazz playing in the speakers, and I got some weird shit on the wall, and I'll be looking at it going, what the fuck is that?
If we make
And then
Dana,
we'll have somebody come down and spend $150,000 for it. That's what I want to do. That's what I am going to do.
But he's here to help Dana, right?
No, and we'll have a fundraiser for him. Get all the billionaires, man. We'll get it. We can get his ass in office, man. We can do it. It can be done. It can be done. And I think we'll end it on that and bring Dana up.
Yes, let's bring him out here.
So thank you very much. Here's the Dana. You got an extra mic?
There's one down here, actually. I can bring that one up, maybe.
Go on, Chuck. We're going to stay and do a Q&A with Dana. Okay. So Dana, one thing we've got to, we've got to clear up for sure is that when you were on acid, you were driving around in that car. Was it window pane?
It takes great skill and concentration to drive on large doses of LSD.
But what
Ustream! Cut us off halfway through. Okay, we're gonna start again now. This Dana has just come out here. This is the Tommy Chong, an intimate evening with Chong and Chong. We're back now. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know what happened upstairs here. Ustream. Okay, I'm gonna try it again. Let's give it a try here, and hopefully he'll go back to the same spot. I think it will.
Follow some of his adventures and experiences at the freemark.ca site. And we hope to get him home soon, so please help to bring Mark Emery home. He's made his appeal.
Well, it turns out that it doesn't go back to that spot. So, oh my goodness. Yeah, that is a terrible fail, sadly, that this thing cut off halfway through, because now we don't want to have to make you guys sit through that whole thing again. You know what I can do right now, though, is I can, if you guys want to hang out and wait in the background here, I can quickly reload in a version that has half of it instead of both of it. Let's see here, hold on a second. And while I do that, I'm going to smoke another bong rip in the background. Yeah, that's really the only way to do this, guys. So if, everybody wants to see it. So if you guys are willing to wait, I'm going to quickly make a version that has the front part of it chopped off so you guys can watch it. Hold on a sec here. We will open this up. This should only take me 1 minute. Not even. Alright, but let me get high while I do it. That's only the only way to do it, really. If I don't get high first, I can't guarantee it'll be done right. Ah, delicious. White Widow. Okay, here we go. So this thing is going to be clipped at just the part where Dana comes in. So for all those who are tuning in, we were playing this Tommy Chong thing. It cut off halfway through, and now I'm going to play the part starting with Dana. So this will take a second. Let's go here. Sorry, you guys are going to have to watch me mumbling in the background for a second. Alright, trim. We're just going to save this file. Alright, save as. This will just take 1 second. Okay. So it's saving, and while it's doing that, we'll load up the bong one more time. So I really enjoyed this Tommy Chong performance with Shelby. I've never actually seen Shelby perform like that, but I thought it was pretty cool. I thought they did a very good job, and they talked about you know, the perils of prohibition, and if you guys haven't seen Tommy's movie, aka Tommy Chong, you gotta check it out. It's really cool. For all those who did miss the movie being played at the theater the other night, which preceded the stuff I just showed you there, it is really, really cool. It's an awesome movie, and it's just crazy how they went after Tommy, and they had this bong business, and you know, they weren't selling drugs or anything like that. They're just selling glass pipes, like, you know, hundreds of companies do over the internet. And literally, the government entrapped them, phoned and harassed them and bugged them from a business in Pennsylvania where you're not allowed to send these bongs to, which I guess is some sort of a federal problem, sending them to this particular state. So when they did, and when the government actually set up this place to phone Tommy and bother them and order them and try and get them in, Tommy's company said, no, we won't ship them there, we won't ship them there. And after they were being harassed, finally these guys came to Tommy's store, bought the bongs in the store, and then left them sitting there in big boxes, so they had nowhere to put them or nothing to do with them. So eventually they did send them, and that's how they got them. And though they busted a whole bunch of people, Tommy was the one who got the most jail time, and it was an obvious example making of him. So let's see, I've got the video in the background here now, so I should be able to load this in. We'll make sure this works. Add video shot. And here we go. Okay, so success, guys. So I'm going to start the second part now. This is just a little bit back from where you guys saw before. If you were watching, this is where Dana comes in. And if you happen to be watching this video afterwards, this is part 2. You can go back to the Ustream link, which is right here, and watch the first part of this broadcast if you happen to be seeing the second part. Anyways, okay, I'm going to test this out, and if you guys have any problems with the sound or whatever, again, just let me know in the comments section. So let's give this a try.
You got an extra mic? There's one down here, actually. I can bring that one up, maybe.
Chuck, we're going to stay and do a Q&A with Dana. Okay. So Dana, one thing we've got to, we've got to clear up for sure is that when you were on acid, you were driving around in that car. Like, yeah, was it window pane?
It takes great skill and concentration to drive on large doses of LSD.
But what was it, window pane, or was it in the...
If you watch the video, it was a liquid LSD. I didn't actually drive on acid, though. I correct that, actually. It was a different video that I was driving in. I was a very responsible psychedelic user. Walked around my community, filming myself, rambling with whatever things I had to share with my audience. But it was actually a liquid LSD that someone had sent me in the mail.
Yeah.
And I don't think people send me in the mail anymore.
Did you accidentally take it?
No, it was...
it's LSD.
It was like, hey, I'm doing a show. My show today is about Dana Larsen taking LSD, and I got it here, and someone sent it to me, and I'll take a few drops.
Oh, and you did it.
And then I did it in the show, and I walked around. But, you know, there's been a few... To me, I was showing people what that is, and that you don't go... I'm not like, oh, there's dragons everywhere, and there's ants crawling out of my skin. Like, I'm very reasonable. I've got interesting things to say, but it's not a lot of outside craziness going on. It's things happening inside, right?
Did you see God?
Yeah, I have spiritual experiences. I took a lot of LSD when I was younger, from around
and it went
20 to
spiritual?
23.
And it went spiritual?
I feel I learned a lot about myself and about the universe and what a human being is, and what I learned a lot from doing that. And they were all positive experiences for me. And I don't regret taking psychedelics at all. It's not something I have the time for these days. Usually, it takes a lot of time. It's like a 2-day experience usually for me. 1 day of tripping and 1 day of kind of contemplating and eating fruit and remembering who I am and stuff again. But I always thought those are positive experiences, and I think that done properly, they can be really beneficial. And I like taking psychedelic mushrooms too; those are good as well.
Yeah. Dana's the only politician that admits that he was a pothead. He did.
An honest politician. I'll see if I can keep that up or not.
I know. And what else? What else are you running for? What else are you gonna do?
Well, you know, in the NDP, I'm not just running for leader, I do a lot of other political work, and I have a group called End Prohibition, and we're NDP members all across the country who are trying to promote this issue. And I've gone to like 20 NDP conventions in different provinces across Canada. We've pretty much written the drug and marijuana policy for the NDP in like 5 or 6 provinces now, got it passed as policy, and so it's been really successful. We built a really big network of people in our party. And that's what my work in the NDP is about, is finding a home for the marijuana movement. It's a very political movement. We formed our own political parties. We've been active and trying to find a mainstream party that will take on our voice and represent us in Parliament and get these laws changed. And the NDP's been that. It hasn't always been perfect, but we've had Libby Davies in there, who is an amazing politician for the marijuana and for drug reform cause. And she's done a lot of great work for Mark Emery. She interviewed Mark Emery on the internet and did an interview with him, posted it online, and she's been very supportive. But we need more of that, and we need people who are from our culture, who understand it. You know, Libby Davies is not a pot smoker. She understands social justice. She understands this issue. But we need people who can say, I use marijuana medicinally, or I use marijuana socially, and that to show that we are regular people and that we can have a voice for ourselves. And I think that there's a lot of politicians that smoke pot, and a lot of politicians have taken acid, but they won't admit it. They all did it in the past. In the past, I may have done it when I was a young and errant youth, but not anymore, no. And now I understand better. And I think it's important to have leaders up there who will say, yeah, I smoke pot, and who cares? You know, let's talk about something else, because everybody smokes pot.
So true.
I'm just glad that some of those politicians, you know, that really fuck up, you know, like the pedophiles and that, you know, I'm glad they don't come up and go, well, I wouldn't have done it, but I was high on pot.
You don't hear a lot of that.
But they don't know. You never hear that. Just like they try to put that tag on that guy that killed those people and wounded the congresswoman in Tucson, Arizona. They tried to say he was a pothead, but no. Had he been a pothead, everybody would have been alive. Because the guy would have picked the wrong day.
He would have slept in or something.
Yeah. He'd be going, oh, fuck, it's the wrong day, man.
Or he'd smoke a joint and think about his problems and calm down a little bit, decide maybe he doesn't have to shoot people, you know? Maybe just have something to eat and get a good rest, and you'll feel better in the morning.
But you're up against, you know, the establishment, and we're going to have to do more than just, you know, have our base. We have to turn all these other straight fuckers on.
How are you going to convince the straight people to? Because there is I don't know, are there more straight people in Vancouver or stoners? Is there?
There's a lot of people who use marijuana. The majority of people in Canada have tried marijuana. The majority aren't smoking it now, but a majority have tried it in their lives. And I think a majority of Canadians, especially British Columbians, either have a family member or someone they know and love who uses marijuana. If it's not themselves, it's someone who's close to them who uses pot. And I think when we talk about that, say, do you want your sister or your kid or your family member to go to jail? And I've been at a lot of these NDP debates. People come to me afterwards and say, you know, Dana, my dad is a member of your dispensary, and I'm really glad you're doing the work you're doing. Or they'll have that kind of connection. And if they smoke pot, they always want to tell me, by the way, I smoke pot. Don't tell anybody else, but I'm glad you're doing it, because I can't do it. My union would have troubles, or I'd be something, but you keep doing it, and I'll support you quietly from back here. And so that's good, though. I'm glad that I can be out there and make an opening so they can feel comfortable saying, well, people, Dana did it, and it was okay. He got elected, or he was fine. So maybe I can be open about it too, you know, because we should not be ashamed that we're marijuana smokers at all. We should be proud that we're part of this tradition. people have been smoking pot and using cannabis since before recorded history. When we light up a joint or when we eat some pot food, we're taking part of a tradition that goes back thousands and thousands of years to the earliest human beings.
Yeah.
And we should be proud of continuing that tradition and keeping it forward and not trying to hide and just have a joint in the closet, you know. I think you had a line about that. The only time you were in the closet was to grow something, and I think that's very true.
Yeah, that was my experience with pot. Everything seemed really funny. It's not a good way to be in high school.
Well, yeah, you know, I don't know. We get some students that come in, they have ADHD. They find, if you're under 18 at our dispensary, you need parental consent and a doctor's note and everything. But some people with ADHD and kids find it helps them study harder and focus. And, you know, it affects different people in different ways. Some people should wait till the evening. Some people, first thing in the morning, it's the best time for them to make their day be the day they need to have, right? So it's something that different people use it in different ways. And there's no real right or wrong way to smoke pot or use marijuana. It's what's right for you.
And you can't get hooked on it.
I've been smoking marijuana every day for years, and I've never been hooked on it.
No, it's true. It's true. In prison, when I was in prison, I was in with people that were getting off Oxycontin and getting off all these pain prescription pills, and they would go through hell. But not one pothead, you know, because it's actually like it's a relief. Fuck, I'm glad I don't have to get high anymore. You know? My lungs will heal for a while. It was totally different. But you know what we did have? We had a plant called lion's ear. And lion's ear, you can find it in the botany books, I guess. But it was growing all over the prison. And if you smoked the leaf, you would have a beautiful sleep and dreams that it was like going to a new movie house, you know. And you'd have dreams that you never usually have. And fuck, there's a bunch of us, we used to smoke it up and then meet the next day and say, what was your dream like?
So you're sitting around smoking like joints of lion's, what's it called?
Lion's ear.
Lion's ear, and like, didn't think you were smoking, nobody thought you were smoking pot, or like?
No, it smells like doesn't smell like pot. And if they drug test you, there's nothing in there. So it was great. Cool. And it helped people sleep.
Well, you know, it's amazing how many herbs have wonderful beneficial uses to them, and they're such good medicines, and it's too bad that we focus on pharmaceuticals so much in our society.
The reason they focus on that, there's a lot of money being made in the pharmaceuticals, and that's what, I don't know, we have to get our billionaires to come out and promote for pot, to legalize pot, so they can lobby and give all the money, right?
Well, it's like we're going the other way. It's like they want to do to all herbs what they've done to marijuana, you know. There's more and more laws against herbal medicines and access to other herbs, and marijuana is by far the best medicinal herb. It's the queen of all plants, but it's not the only good plant, and they all, you know, they're sending so many of these plant medicines are starting to be banned and controlled and pushing us to pharmaceuticals. As Premier, I would do the opposite. I would want to see more focus on plant medicines and make the government do some of this research into these non-patentable medicines. You know, they say, well, no one's going to study that because they can't patent it. They won't make any money off it, so why would they do any research? And it's like, well, that's maybe a job the government can do and analyze some of these things and make that information publicly available to everyone in open source.
Well, another reason, if you and also legalizing pot, I mean, I don't know, but you could get taxes from it and that, they could make money that way, so it, you know, it doesn't all...
No, they're already making a shitload of money off it.
They are?
Oh, yeah.
By incarcerating
Well, you
people?
figured out this BC especially has been in a recession forever, and you can't tell thanks to the pot industry.
I've often thought, you know, if we could have all the marijuana growers go on strike for 6 months, it would cripple the entire economy of the province.
I mean, it would
That's
show
a great idea. That is a great
You don't have to
idea.
have a little fast for a while, but it would show what an influence we have in
Yeah.
the province. You know,
Yeah.
if the 250,000 people that are making their living off pot all went down to the EI office and we're going to go on welfare, we're going to collect, you know, we're going to be good citizens and give up this job, right? Like, it would destroy the whole economy. The whole province would come to its knees.
I know in Northern California, they're all around Mendocino County, they have very successful BMW dealerships. Yeah, they're not buying pickup trucks. Fuck that. They're buying the BMWs. They got a lot of money coming in there, and all the sheriffs and that, you know, they just when they start talking to them about, you know, going after the pot growers, and it's like, fuck off, you know. Leave it be. Let it happen.
There's a lot of people around the world, too, in other countries who've lifted themselves out of poverty by having access to marijuana and cannabis and being able to grow that as well, you know, and it's something that that really brings people up out of poverty and can give them a real life. And
And
a real
not to
chance.
mention the alcoholism and cures of the native people up north and all over Canada.
Amazing medicine.
I mean, man, boy, if it wasn't for pot, there'd be a lot of alcoholics. That's how they get off the booze and get on the pot. And then the sweat lodge has a whole other meaning.
You know, psychedelics are also good medicines for a lot of addiction issues as well, you know, and peyote has been used for that. They used to do LSD treatment for alcoholics.
You got an extra mic?
There's one down here, actually. I can bring that one on, maybe.
Very loud. It looks like that's the end, guys. So, and that, you know what, that was about 3 seconds from the actual end of it. I'm not sure why the end's cut off like that. I hope that Marijuana Man had more footage than that. I have some suspicion that the very, very end of it is cut off. That was basically it. It was like 2 seconds away from that. So you guys pretty much saw the entire thing. We will have a better quality version of that, so you guys don't have to watch it on the Ustream, over the Ustream thing if you really liked it, and you can get it all in one place since Ustream cut this one into 2. So now if you are watching the show right now and you didn't see the first half, there's a longer first half where I interview Dana and stuff, and you can find that by clicking on the Ustream link that's above here and going and checking that out, or go on the front page of Cannabis Culture, and I will make sure that both of the embedded things are in the show notes page. And also, if you want to donate to Dana's campaign, I really got to say a big thanks to Dana for coming on today. If you guys want to donate to his campaign, please do. I will put the information on the front page of Cannabis Culture in the show notes to this show, so you guys can actually submit right through there if you have PayPal or do credit card and that kind of stuff online. And if you're not a member of the BC NDP yet, or the NDP if you live in Canada, please become a member. And this is the opportunity that we have to take these parties over. And Dana is amazing here in British Columbia. We have a real serious opportunity to get in and make a major difference in this party. And soon the whole party is going to be run by potheads just like me and you. And finally we will get these drug laws changed in this province and in the country. So again, thanks Dana for coming on. Everybody, thanks for watching. If you guys are still checking it out and sticking with us through all the speed bumps, the little hiccups here and there always is with Ustream. And I'm telling you, if anybody out there knows of a better service than Ustream that doesn't have these kinds of problems, please let me know. But anyways, we'll be back next week again for another show on Friday at 4 p.m. So we will see you guys then. I'm going to put up Dana's Vote Now thing. Go to Dana, votedana.ca, and vote for this guy. If you can, if you're a member of the NDP. That's coming up soon. So if you guys did sign up and you are members of the NDP, we'll have info on exactly how you do vote for Dana, how you actually can vote for him as the leadership candidate of the NDP, because you have to be a member to vote for him first to be the leader of the party, and then he can run for the premiership of BC. So anyways, guys, peace.